feeding program, a list of the suppliers involved in such program, a report on the issues encountered in the program's implementation in previous years, and data on the number of schools and students affected by the lapses in implementation. Did Mr. Dexter Galban, Deputy Assistant Secretary for Operations, submit these requirements, Mr. Chair?
At present, Your Honor, the Secretariat is not in receipt of said documents.
He has not submitted.
None to the knowledge of the Secretariat, Your Honor. None in the email as well, Your Honor.
Thank you. Is Mr. Munsayak present, I think? Do you know of this requirement?
Your Honor, to be honest, I just learned of this requirement today.
Okay.
I did not receive any order or document or email requiring me to submit this, Your Honor.
Now you know that you were required to submit records of that conversation.
Yes, Your
Did you
Honor,
submit,
I
sir?
will comply, Your Honor.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Dexter Galban, is he around?
Take your seat.
Mr. Galban, did you know of this requirement for you to submit certain documents?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And may I know the reason why you haven't complied with this requirement?
We are confirming, as we have already prepared the reports prior, we shall confirm with the team for the transmittal of the documents because we've already prepared the answers for such, Mr. Chair. We do hope to transmit while this committee is ongoing.
In other words, you're going to submit the required documents today.
We will check, sir, if there was a
My
problem in the
question is,
transmission.
are you trying to tell us that you will submit the documents required today?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, marami pong salamat for the administrative requirements. Thank you.
Okay na? Okay, meron pa po bang ibang gustong mag-manifest? Wala na po. We will now proceed to the continuation of the deliberation and interpellation. But before we proceed, the Chair would like to recognize the presence of the Honorable Senior Vice Chairperson, the Honorable Bienvenido M. Abante Jr. from the 6th District of Manila, the Honorable Ernesto M. Junicio Jr. from the 1st District of Manila, and the Honorable Jervil B. Luistro from the 2nd District of Batangas. Ma'am.
New resource persons. Your Honor, I would also like to recognize, with the pleasure of the members, new resource persons, Director 4, Heidi Espelas from the Commission on Audit, and from the Department of Education, Director 4 and back 4, Chairperson Attorney Restillo Asias. Thank you.
Okay, before we proceed to the interpellation proper, may I request the COMSEC to please administer the oath of the new invitees.
Thank you, Your Honor. To all the new resource persons invited and present today, kindly stand up and raise your right hand. All members of the Philippine Army as well, sirs, please stand up. Even those in the panel, newly invited, sir. All right. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the statements you will give before this committee shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? The oath has been administered, Your Honor.
Thank you. We will now proceed. The first to interpolate, the Honorable Romeo Acop. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and magandang umaga po sa atin lahat. Mr. Chair, I would just like to proceed or continue my interpellation in the second hearing for KUYA. Kasi in the last hearing, KUYA, Atty.Camora, are you? Yes. Kayo po ang sumagot nung tinanong ko kung yung confidential funds of the Office of the Vice President were liquidated in accordance with the protocol provided for by the Joint Circular. Kayo po ang sumagot doon, di po ba? At sinabi po ninyo na the liquidation was done in accordance with the protocol provided by the circular. Totoo po ba yun?
Attorney Camora.
That is true po.
That is true.
Mr. Chair.
Okay. And Kayo po ba ay sumasang-ayon sa akin na yung liquidation is merely a documentary checklist and does not actually show that the expenses are actually reasonable or even true? Would you agree with that?
I would have to agree, Mr. Chair.
Pakiulit po.
I agree po, it's documentary. It's
Do you agree with my statement, Madam?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And would you agree also that the confidential funds of the Office of the Vice President are public funds?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And would you agree that COA, or the Commission on Audit, your agency, is the agency or government agency which is supposed to be the guardian to see to it that public funds are spent properly? Would you agree with that also?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Now, since you have stated that the Office of the Vice President liquidated its confidential funds required under joint circular, would you also agree with me that the accomplishment report provided by the Office of the Vice President were 100% implemented?
Mr. Chair, what do you mean by 100% implemented po?
Na-implement ba yung pag-liquidate nung amount of 125 million as confidential fund of the Office of the Vice President?
Yes, Mr. Chair, the entire 125 million was liquidated.
And would you agree with me that the documentary pieces of evidence submitted by the Office of the Vice President were merely acknowledgement receipts? Would you agree with me?
The documentary evidence of payment, yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, and could you give me the specifics insofar as the acknowledgement receipts submitted for the expenses insofar as the confidential fund of the OVP is concerned? Would you give us how much is for the rental of safe houses? How much would be the amount for purchase of information? Do we
For-
have the number of acknowledgement receipts submitted by the OVP?
For what account, Mr. Chair?
Rental of safe houses?
For rental for the period fourth quarter 2022 po.
Yes.
It's 16 million po, Mr. Chair.
Rental of safe houses.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
The rental is for 11 days? Would you agree with me?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Since the accomplishment report
Pursuant to
provides-
the accomplishment report, yung amount for the rental of safe houses were paid for 11 days.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Tama po?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes. How about, and how many acknowledgement receipts were submitted for this?
Mr. Chair, for rental of safe houses, we received 34 acknowledgement receipts.
How about for transportation expense? What was the amount and the number of acknowledgement receipts submitted for its liquidation?
For transportation, it's 10 million, and the number of recipients is 72.
72 acknowledgement receipts.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Now, for the purchase of information, the same requirement?
Mr. Chair,
magkano po yung sa purchase of information?
for the purchase of information based on the documentary evidence of payment, it's 14 million, and the number of recipients is 142, Mr. Chair.
Okay. And there are two items for rewards, for medicine and various goods. Tama po.
Mr. Chair, there are actually three.
Three?
It's payment of reward medicines, and payment of reward various goods.
What would be the amount allotted for each of the three?
Based on the documentary evidence of payment, for payment of reward, it was 10,050,000.
For medicines yun?
For reward lang,
For reward lang. 10 million?
50,000.
Okay.
For the payment of reward medicines, it's 24,930,000.
And for the third,
And for the payment of reward various goods, it's 34,857,000, Mr. Chair.
thank you. Comsec, pwede po bang pakita natin yung sample ng acknowledgement receipt for the payment of rental of safe houses? Nakikita nyo, Atty.Camora, yung sample o yung actual acknowledgement receipt na sinabit ng OVP with the names, shall we say, not shown because of confidentiality. Tama po ba ito?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Is there an acknowledgement receipt which acknowledge the amount of 500,000 pesos for the payment of rental of safe house?
I will check, Your Honor. Mr. Chair, may I ask the question again?
Meron po bang acknowledgement receipt amounting to 500,000 for the payment of rental of safe house?
Meron po, Mr. Chair.
Para sa isang safe house lang ito?
We have no information, Mr. Chair. What we know is para sa isang recipient nung yung money paid po.
If I asked you the question, yung 500,000 ba yun for 11 days or for 1 day?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Ano po ang yes? 1 day or 11 days?
Since the accomplishment report says December 21 to 31, we think it's 11 days.
For 11 days?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
For a single safe house?
We have no information on how many safe houses that 500,000 was spent on, Mr. Chair.
Sabi nyo kanina, rental of safe houses in the amount of 16M with 34 acknowledgement receipts. Is it logical for me to conclude na 34 safe houses ito?
Mr. Chair, it just means that 34 people were paid for rental supplies, but we have
Hindi,
no...
rental of safe houses. Hindi po rental of
sorry,
supplies.
Mr. Chair.
Bakit?
Pardon.
Para bang iha, nung last time na question kita, you were very, very confident. Ngayon, parang tentative yung mga sagot nyo sa akin. May know why? Nung last time, very, very confident kang sumasagot sa aking mga katanungan. Ngayon, very tentative ka and very, very careful ang pagsagot mo sa akin. May know the reason why?
There's no reason, Mr. Chair.
There's no change? Hindi mo
Yes.
mapapansin yun. Ako ang nakakapansin kasi ako ang nagtanong sa'yo last time. At ako pa rin ang nagtatanong sa'yo ngayon. And I noticed that change. Now, yung 34 acknowledgement receipts given by 34 persons, hindi ba nangangulugan yung 34 na safe houses yon?
Yes, sir. There's information that one receipt may pertain to one safe house.
Safe house, okay. So, if I asked you, yung receipt na amounting to 500,000 for the payment of rental of safe house, would it be logical for me to conclude that this is for one safe house for 11 days?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Para sa 11 days, yung 500,000 para sa isang safe house.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Now, if I asked you, how much would that be per day para sa isang safe house?
Mr. Chair, it would amount to 45,000 something, 45,454.55 per day.
45,000
Yes, Mr. Chair.
per day. Ano po kayang klaseng safe house ito na 45,000 per day ang rental? Samantalang yung mga ibang magagandang lugar, mas mura pa kaysa rito sa 45,000. Could you give us an idea of that?
Mr. Chair, we do not have information on the safe houses.
What do you say? You do not have any information about the safe houses?
Since you were asking po,
Hindi nyo alam kung high class na safe house?
no information, Mr.
You
Chair.
do not. Kasi nakapagtataka lang po na ang safe house per day would be rented with 45,000 for one safe house. Di po ba? Hindi kayo nagtataka?
Yes, Mr. Chair, but since they have submitted the liquidation reports po.
So, as long as an agency would submit yung mga receipts or acknowledgement receipts in their liquidation of the amount, wala na po kayong, you do not have the, shall we say, the wherewithal or the jurisdiction to find out whether the expenditures are reasonable or true? Are you trying to tell us that?
It's more on the submission of the.
It's more on compliance
Yes,
with the
Mr.
requirement.
Chair.
Yun lang.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And you are supposed to be the guardian of the use of public funds.
Mr. Chair, one of the documents is their certification. So
Yun, that
we
is enough.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And you do not determine whether it's reasonable or true.
Since it is compliance, we often do not.
Okay. Yung pong pag-comply ng Office of the Vice President, as you have stated a while ago, in accordance doon sa joint circular, yung the amount of 125 million. So, ang ibig niyo pong sabihin, nag-submit yung Office of the Vice President ng liquidation report, physical and financial plan, documentary evidence of payment, at saka accomplishment report. Okay na po sa inyo yun?
We still review the documents reported, Mr. Chair.
And what is your objective when you review the documents?
Whether,
Ano po ang tinitignan nyo sa dokumento?
whether compliant po siya, Mr. Chair, sa requirements under
Kaya nga,
the joint circular.
tinignan nyo lang kung yung documents would comply with the joint circular.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And you do not determine whether kasinungalingan na, totoo o hindi, yung nakalagay doon po sa documents. Are you trying to tell this committee that?
Mr. Chair, we have issued an ND on the.
Hindi, sagutin nyo muna po yung aking katanungan. Para bang ang sinasabi nyo dito sa amin, dito sa committee na ito, na nag-iimbestiga, na basta't na kompleto po yung mga dokumento required by the joint circular, okay na sa inyo. Pero sinabi ninyo na nire-review ninyo yung documents. Ano po yung hinahanap ninyo dun sa dokumento? Na it is also in accordance with form and substance? Ganun po ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair, since
And-
prescribed din po sa joint circular ang
Yes.
forms.
And you do not determine whether kasinungalingan, may katotohanan? Yung nakalagay po doon?
We check the certification as long as the certification is there. Mr.
Hindi
Chair.
naman po nyo sinasagot sa katanungan ko eh. Doon sa pagre-review ninyo, hindi kasali na i-review ninyo kung pwedeng totoo yung nilalagay doon o hindi.
Mr. Chair, yung ano lang po, submission lang po talaga.
Kaya nga, form and substance lang.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Whether it's unreasonable, out of this world, you do not care.
Unless it's really, really far-fetched. But, Mr. Chair, it's more on submission po talaga ng documents required.
Yeah. Sige. I would just like to state na in the last hearing, you confirmed that the liquidation report, all the documents supposed to be submitted in accordance with the joint circular, for the amount of 125 million, nakalagay doon yung 14 million for the purchase of information, pero walang detalye. Ano yung mga impormasyon na yon? Or it does not even show how important those informations were. Worth 14 million, yung 35 million for supplies na ginamit in 11 days. Hindi po katakataka yun?
Mr. Chair,
35 million for supplies in 11 days. Hindi po kayo nagtaka doon?
as long as they submitted po the
Wala kang mangyayari sa atin.
acknowledgement receipts.
So long as they submit the acknowledgement receipts.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Further, Mr. Chair, yung accomplishment report, it does not require further details po. And it is the only form under the joint circular.
Okay. Hindi ko na po tinatong. Kasi kung ganito po yung inyong patakaran, wala nga po kayong mababantayan. Di po ba?
Mr. Chair, kaya po meron po silang certification yung head of agency.
Pero may certification na, but you do not even determine whether the contents of the certification are reasonable or not. Whether they are true or not, you do not determine that.
Yes, Mr. Chair, given the
Yes.
nature of the fund po.
Yeah. Kagaya ng 40 million for medical and food aid, ilang kayang informant ang ginamot, ang binigyan ng gamot? In 11 days. 35 million. Hindi po kayo nagtataka?
For supplies po,
Yes. Hindi po ba? Ang
there
report
were
nyo kanina
69
for
recipients.
medical and food aid, 40 million. Di po ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes. And for 11 days to be spent for medicine, medical aid. Hindi kayo nagtataka? Paano na-spend yun in 11 days? 5 of which are holidays.
Mr. Chair, given the nature of the fund, that it's confidential.
Doon po kayo bumabalik doon sa nature of the fund palagi eh. Yun
Otherwise,
ang napapansin
Mr.
ko
Chair,
na doon kayo nagko-cover. Pero definitely, your job is to see to it that public funds are spent properly. I asked you that.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Now, may I ask you, personally, are you safeguarding the expenditure of public funds insofar as your job is concerned?
I would like to think so, sir. Yes.
You would like to think so. Okay. Wala nga tayong kung ano mangyayari. In other words, we can, or the COA relies only on the documentary evidence of payment, mainly. Tama po.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yun lang ang basehan ninyo.
Yes, Mr.
And
Chair.
yung documentary evidence of payment, whether it is a lie, a truth, reasonable or unreasonable, you do not care. That is what you're trying to tell us.
It is since it's just compliance, sir.
Kaya nga, in other words, para bang ang sinasabi nyo sa akin, I do not know how my other colleagues would take that, pero parang ministerial na lang yung trabaho nyo pala.
If we read through the
Yes.
joint circular.
That is what you're trying to tell me. Okay? Ministerial lang pala yung trabaho ninyo. Masarap na trabaho yan. Di po ba? Yung pag tignan natin ang liquidation report, ang nakalagay lang dito ay ginastos ng Office of the Vice President the amount of 125 million from December 21 to 31, 2022 or 11 days. And this was certified by the Vice President, by the Special Disbursing Officer, Madam Gina Acosta, and the Chief Accountant, Madam Julieta Villa del Rey. Would that be correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Now, kung babase naman po tayo dun sa accomplishment report, ang makikita lang natin dito ay gumastos ang Office of the Vice President ng 125 million from December 21 to 31, 2022 for surveillance and monitoring activities in 132 areas. Dito rin, wala tayong magawa. Kagaya ng sagot po nyo sa akin, we have no choice but to check the documentary evidence of payments submitted by the office para malaman kung saan or paano ginastos ng OVP yung 125 million. Yun po yung pinarating nyo po sa amin.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So, yung titignan po natin talaga is yung pinakita natin acknowledgement receipt, ganyan lang talaga ang format.
That is what...
Nakalagay lang ang amount, pangalan at signature ng tumanggap, at date kung kailan niya ito natanggap. That is it.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Yun yung sinubmit po nila sa amin.
And COA does not try to determine kung sino man yung taong yun, existing ba siya o hindi. You do not.
No, Mr. Chair.
No, thank you. Para lang for my information. So, you do not have any means or you do not exert any means para ma-determine kung totoo yung mga nakalagay sa acknowledgement receipt. You just take it hook, line, and sinker na totoo po yun.
Mr. Chair, probably we could, but given the limited manpower po of the ICFAO,
Ni walang ID yung tao na sinasubmit.
no, Mr. Chair.
No, wala. Talagang sikretong-sikreto.
What was submitted to us, that is what we audit, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Pwede ko rin ba i-conclude na walang paraan ang COA para malaman kung gagawa lang acknowledgement receipts na ito?
If we base it on the joint circular, it is no.
Pakisagot niyo po yung aking katanungan. Hindi ko po tinatanong yung tungkol sa joint circular or whatever. Ang katanungan ko po wala pong paraan na magagawa ang COA para malaman kung gawa-gawa lang ang mga acknowledgement receipts na sinubmit. Would my statement be correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
I beg your pardon? Tama?
Tama po.
Okay. Sa madaling salita, kahit na sabihin natin hindi naman talaga natanggap ng isang tao yung amount of 500,000 for the payment of the safe houses, kagaya na nakalagay kanina, hindi talaga sinusuri ng COA ito. Talagang hindi kasama sa inyong job description na suriin ito. In spite of the fact na sinabi nyo kanina, na nire-review nyo naman yung mga dokumentong ito. Tama?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Actually, hindi ito ang aking pinagkakabahala Kung tutuusin natin, at least, kung nakalagay dyan, Juan de la Cruz ang full name, pero may nakikita akong acknowledgement receipt sa mga sinamit po ninyo na initials lang ang nakalagay. Instead na, for example, Juan de la Cruz, J. Cruz lang ang nakalagay na tumanggap ng amount of 500,000 for the payment of safe houses mula sa Office of the Vice President. Kung ganitong proof lang ang papasana sa COA, wala na talaga kayong paraan para matanong yung taong tumanggap ng pera. Di po ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair. It is really yung pag sa Intel and Confi Fund po. There's no verification. Also, even if we have means right now, yung manpower po ng ICFAO cannot handle if alone itong si OVP, we cannot verify all those people, and we audit all confidential and intelligence funds for the whole country. So, hindi po kaya for now, Mr. Chair.
You did not find it, shall we say, unusual for an amount or the amount of 125 million ay magamit po sa 11 days?
Well, personally, malaki nga po siya, but
Hindi. Personally, sinabi mo.
yes po.
Personally, you find it unusual?
It could be na medyo malaki nga po yung amount.
And hindi mo, wala kang ginawa? You
Since
you
they've
found it unusual and yet wala kang ginawa?
submitted all the requirements under the joint circular,
Tama na.
okay na po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.